Hi, ED2204. This is Professor Tucker, and welcome to week 2. We are going to be learning a lot more about phonological awareness this week. And as you'll go through these slides with me, you'll see there are a number of videos. So I'm definitely going to encourage you to still go back into the slides and watch those videos to really be able to see some of these skills in action. All right, so our quote for today: to learn to read is to light a fire. Every syllable that is spelled out is a spark. We certainly, and even in our early literacy, foundational skills with young students, are wanting to build that love for reading. All right, so last week we talked about morphology, and so we're going to be looking at some of these Greek roots again. So we have the Greek root phon, which we think of phonological awareness. We want to remember that phon means sound. So if we have tele, which means far away, a telephone, is a device used to hear sounds from far away. We have a symphony, where we're putting sounds together. A cacophony, a very loud, harsh mixture of sounds. I think that's a band there. A megaphone, is producing loud sounds. So whenever we're hearing that root phon, or sometimes pronounced phone, we're thinking of sounds. So phonological awareness is the broad skill of identifying and manipulating parts of oral language, such as spoken words or syllables, onset rhyme, phonemic awareness. We're aware that phonemes are the smallest unit of sound found in a word, such as individual sounds like p, sh, b. There are 44 phonemes in the English language, and you can review them here at this link if that's helpful. So when we're talking about phonemic awareness, we're talking about the ability to hear, identify, and manipulate individual phonemes, or the individual sounds that are found in words. We're going to look kind of at the connection between phonological awareness and phonemic awareness, how they're alike, and how phonemic awareness is a little bit different than some of the other skills. And when we're talking about phonics, we're looking at the relationship between sounds and the letters, the graphemes that are used to represent those sounds. So phonics skills are not categorized as a phonological awareness skill because of their inclusion of letters rather than just sounds. So for our students in Wisconsin, when you work on preparing for your Foundations of Reading test, that is a distinction that you'll really want to be aware of. In that assessment, they'll often talk about phonological awareness, phonemic awareness, and it's always the manipulation of oral language. But it certainly is still a part of phonics as we are manipulating sounds. We're just connecting them with letters. Right, so we can think of phonological awareness as an umbrella. It covers many skills in a variety of complexity, starting with word awareness, so just looking at words found in sentences, like how many words are in a sentence, looking then at syllables that are a part of words. Then students can explore onset rhyme, where they're taking apart a word with an initial phoneme and ending sounds. Rhyme and alliteration are also phonological awareness skills. And then we have a whole other branch. So we have phonemic awareness as a branch of phonological awareness. Anytime we're talking about phonemic awareness, we're manipulating individual sounds. So we can isolate those sounds, we can practice blending them, segmenting them, and we can even manipulate them, like add or delete or substitute sounds. We're going to look at all of these skills in our slides this week, but we kind of want to be aware that phonemic awareness is a phonological awareness skill. It's just distinctly different because we're going to be isolating or manipulating individual sounds. So students progress working with large chunks of words, so listening to identifying rhymes, to eventually producing rhymes, segmenting sentences into words, then blending and segmenting syllables into onset and rhyme. And when we get into onset and rhyme, this can be like a challenging bridge for students to make, to then be pulling out individual phonemes, like often that initial sound, to then eventually be able to blend individual phonemes and segment them and then manipulate them. So again, we're going to go through those skills kind of in order of complexity as we look at these slides. So word awareness. So as young children develop word awareness, they're able to identify the words that make up a spoken sentence. Again, phonological awareness skills are activities that you're doing orally without the written print. So it might be something like count the words you hear in the sentence. John rode the bus to school. You could have students hop. Take one hop for every word in this sentence. The doctor gave Mary a shot in her arm. Maybe not a great example of a sentence that kids want to hear. Often you'll see phonological awareness activities have chips or tiles, or in this case, an example of moving beads. So each bead is representing a word in the sentence. So the student would slide a bead for each word they're hearing. The man on the boat slipped on the deck. And again, you would start with much smaller sentences and then work to more complex. So syllables, most of us are familiar with counting syllables, like clapping syllables. So another method besides just clapping out syllables is the chin method. So you can even just do this with me. So if you place your hand under your chin and say a multisyllabic word, you'll feel your jaw drop as you make those different vowel sounds and be able to count the syllables. So the one example here is elephant. You can feel your chin moving. If you do that for our later word, like butterfly, you can feel your chin moving for each of the syllables. So that is another method that is sometimes used. So just counting syllables, right? Identifying syllables would be your initial skill. Then we can go into more complex skills, like hearing individual syllables and then blending them together. So students would be told to listen to the parts of the word, then tell me the whole word. Butterfly, what is the word? And the student would say butterfly. Segmenting syllables is the opposite then. You would start with a whole word. So for example, repeat the word after me, peanut. And then as we say each syllable, they could place down a card or a chip or do the beads again. Right? So they'd be saying peanut. And then sweeping their fingers below the cards to blend the word together again, peanut. There are more advanced skills as far as manipulating syllables, like adding or deleting, substituting syllables. And you can look at those activities if you are interested, and there's some more information here on Reading Rockets as well. So we want to recognize that beyond just counting syllables, right, we're identifying how many syllables there are. Students should be blending syllables together, segmenting them, or even possibly manipulating them. These are done again orally, and so often a color tile or chip, you'll see some videos later, are used just to represent each syllable as students are counting them or blending or segmenting them together. All right, so rhyming, we're also usually pretty familiar with rhyming skills. Rhyming skills can include rhyme repetition, rhyme recognition, and then the more advanced skill for students is actually being able to produce rhymes. So this video kind of goes through each, and there are many activities and games that can be used for rhyming as well. And rhyming might be a phonological awareness skill that you choose to use in your literacy project for this week as you create your own book or song. So alliteration. Alliterations are, right, could be simple phrases like 2-3 word phrases or complete sentences where we have a repeating consonant sound. So we have here, reading teachers are really resourceful and review the research regularly. So alliterations are really helpful for students to recognize words that have the same onset. And we're going to be looking shortly at onset and rhyme. So paying attention to that initial consonant sound. There are many, many great examples of children's books that use alliteration. So there's a link here if you're interested in looking at any of those. And students always enjoy hearing those alliterations and trying to reproduce them. And again, this is another skill that you may use in your literacy project as you write your own song or book to focus on that phonological awareness skill of alliteration. Right, so onset and rhyme. So as we work on onset and rhyme, we're preparing students to eventually be working with individual phonemes, removing them beyond just syllables and looking at the initial phoneme or initial sound of words. So the onset is going to be that initial sound, whereas the rhyme is the string of sounds that follow that initial consonant. So you'd have like r is your onset and at for your rhyme for the word rat, or th for your onset, ing is the rhyme, or for onset, arc, right, for the word mark. This is an excellent video that really shows the progression of skills. The little girl in the video is Precious, as she's really starting to move from identifying syllables and blending syllables to blending onsets and rhymes. And you'll see that she has moments where she's struggling with that. And so the teacher moves to some body coda blending, which is really just the opposite skill, where you're blending through all of the initial sounds, and then the coda is the final consonant sound. So instead of doing something like b, each, and the child's blending those together to make the word beach, you would take those initial sounds, b, and then have the coda, ch, the ending sound, and blend those together, beach. And so it's interesting to watch this video because she does struggle with the onset and rhymes and is more successful with the body coda blending of just focusing on that final phoneme. And you'll see how they're using little felt squares to represent the different sounds and when they're bringing those sounds together, so you can kind of see what a phonological awareness for activity for onset of rhyme or for body coda blending looks like. Because again, this is all orally. The students don't see the letters at this point. You're just helping them better identify sounds and practice segmenting them, pulling them apart, and blending, putting them together. All right. So many students are probably familiar with Heggerty. Heggerty uses a lot of hand signals for their phonemic awareness activities. And so when we get to isolating individual sounds, right? So we're now looking at phonemic awareness, the most complex skills under that phonological awareness umbrella. Students can work on isolating the initial sounds. They'll work on isolating the final sounds, and the most difficult is isolating the medial sounds. And so these are great videos that I would encourage you to go back and watch so you can really see those, and again, have a better understanding of what these skills kind of look like in the classroom. So a key skill with phonemic awareness is the ability to blend phonemes. So in a blending activity, the individual phonemes would be given, and the student would be asked to blend the sounds together to make a word. So for example, you would produce d, a, g, and ask the student what's the word? Dog. Sh, e, p. What's the word? Sheep. And again, right, we're looking at not necessarily individual letters, we're looking at individual phonemes. Okay, this is also a great video that highlights that, of kind of what that looks like in the classroom. Okay, so a little more complex skill than phoneme blending is phoneme segmentation, which is also a key skill for students to learn as they are preparing to learn how to read. These are all pre-reading skills. And so phoneme segmentation is the ability then to take a word and break it apart to its individual sounds. This is going to be key for students to be able to later encode, to be able to write and spell words, right? To be able to take those words and segment them and be able to hear the individual sounds within the word. So, for example, the students would be given a word like cat, and then they would have to segment the different sounds, k, at, and often like colored tiles. These are just colored squares, felt, chips, are used to represent those different sounds, kind of as a placeholder, a visual for students to see those sounds. So the word moon, right, would have three phonemes, m, u, n. So again, all of this is done orally. Students are not seeing any letters, and they're just learning to hear those individual sounds and segment them, break them apart. So Elkonin boxes are commonly used. You'll see them like here. This is a great video, again, showing how they're used. And they're used with tiles or chips to segment the sounds. And then students will see these again when we get into actual decoding and encoding, as then they'll kind of segment the sound, and then they'll be pulling these chips away and starting to write the letters for those different phonemes. Or with decoding, you'll start with the letters and you're blending them together. So again, this is a great tool to use for pre-readers. That will be something they'll be able to use into kindergarten and first grade as they are doing phoneme grapheme mapping. That's what it's called, when you're taking the sounds and the letters and kind of putting those skills together. Okay, so some more complex phonemic awareness skills would include adding and deleting phonemes. So phoneme addition would look something like this. You'd say add s to the beginning of park. What is the word? Spark. Add k to the beginning of law. What's the word? Claw. And then phoneme deletion, right, would be just the opposite. You're giving a word and then you're asking them to remove a sound. So say bat. Now say it without the b. And what's the word? At. Say smile. Now say it without the s. What's the word? Mile. And again, we're always asking students to add and delete sounds. You'll notice, right, we're adding or deleting phonemes. We're not like saying add an S. All right, and then finally, with some of the phoneme manipulation, we have substituting, where students would be asked to substitute an initial, a final, or even a medial sound of the word. So say nap. Now instead of n, say k, cap. Right? So this is definitely a lot more complex. You might even caught yourself thinking through that. So if we're looking at a final sound for substituting, so say cub, instead of b, say p. What's the word cup? And then we see, right, even some medial sounds, like these blends changing from the p to the t. So definitely a lot more advanced skill. So the National Reading Panel in 2000 identified phoneme segmenting and blending were the most important phonological awareness skills for children to develop their reading skills. And that makes sense because these are, right, what students need to be able to read. If they're able to blend individual sounds to make words, and then segment, break them apart to hear those individual phonemes. Phonemic awareness instruction is typically not needed beyond second grade unless a student is not fluently reading at grade level. So these are skills that are commonly worked on with struggling readers in third grade and a little bit above. But again, once we get into that third grade and higher, a lot of these phonemic awareness skills can be taught at the same time with the phonics skills as students are blending and segmenting. So phonemic awareness skills should really be seen as a bridge to phonics skills. Now in phonics instruction, students will further explore the alphabetic principle and how the letters represent sounds. So these are skills commonly done in like a preschool setting, kindergarten, first grade, early first grade, as students are becoming more familiar with the phonemes so that they're able to then be a lot more comfortable blending them together when they're decoding and reading words. So I know each week we have a lot that we're learning, a lot of material that we're covering. I think we all appreciate Dr. Seuss and a great example of phonological awareness with rhymes. But the more that you read, the more things you will know, the more that you learn, the more places you'll go. So I look forward to seeing how you apply all that you've been learning in your discussions and projects this week. You certainly are learning and growing a lot, and I wish God's blessings on your week. And certainly go back into the slides and watch the videos so that you're able to understand these skills more as you are going to be presenting a mini lesson in VoiceThread this week.